Hey yo, what is up? This is NinjaGeek Games. I've got something a little different in this episode. I've recently been playtesting a card game with such a heartwarming backstory that I just had to get involved. Firstly, the game. It's a two-player card game named Pyramid of Khufu, where you need to ensure that the pharaoh's mortal body is safeguarded and recognised by his spirit after death. And how do you do this? Well, each player needs to complete construction of their pyramid, fill it with sacred items, and then entice Egyptian gods to bless the tomb, while at the same time preventing other players from robbing your pyramid while trying to steal from theirs. The game has three simple phases of visiting the market, where you draw cards and discard cards from your hand, building, where you play cards and tokens, and the replenish phase, where you just draw back up to your hand size. When any player has completed their pyramid, the game will end immediately and enter the scoring phase, with the player with the most divine points at the end of the game winning. Now, a little bit about the background to this game. It's developed by Steve Kluwer, who is not a games developer and has never done anything like this before. Now, his plan is to launch this game on a crowdfunding platform within the next few weeks, where backers are able to also sponsor a card by paying £25, £35 or £50. By doing so, backers can have one or two names on the card or a company name if they choose. The cost of the game is just £10 and will consist of approximately 100 cards, 6 tokens and a die. Will be produced plastic free using FSC paper to be as environmentally sound as possible. Now, this campaign is purely for charity fundraising, with 100% of the sales going directly to the Velindre Cancer Centre in Cardiff, Wales. Now, this centre provides treatment for cancer patients. The developer is also planning to climb Kilimanjaro with his wife to arrange additional funds for the same charity. What a fantastic cause. So now we'll take a look at the game. So this is just a print and play prototype version of the game. I did want to print it on some nice card for the video, but due to lockdown I wasn't able to do that. Now, as for the setup, it's really simple. The first thing you need to do is each player finds the subterranean level card, which there are two, and places it in the bottom left corner of their player area. Each player will then draw a hand of 7 cards. The deck gets placed here, and then there's 5 cards drawn from it to form the market area. Now, this is one player area. The other player area would be on the other side of that market area. As for the gameplay, there are a number of rounds, and within each round there are 3 phases, and each player will complete all 3 of those phases before the next player does. The first phase is the market phase, where a player will take a card from the market area, place it in their hand, and then discard a card they don't want into the discard area. The next phase is the building phase, where each player then gets 3 actions to use, and actions can be playing different cards, playing your tokens, or discarding a card. The first action you can do is take an object card from your hand and place it into your pyramid area. If you've already got the same type, you place it underneath and you can get points for both types. Now, there are 9 different objects in the game, 4 cards of each type. And to close your pyramid and end the game, you need to collect 1 of every single type. And when playing the object cards, 4 can be in the subterranean level, 3 can be in this Queen Chamber level, and maximum of 2 can be in the King's Chamber level. However, when you start the game, the Queen's Chamber and the King's Chamber are not in play, and you have to try and find them from the market area. So once there are 4 objects in the subterranean level, if you want to place a 5th, you need to make sure that you found the Queen's Chamber card and placed it, and then you can place the rest of the objects in this layer. Likewise, for the King's Chamber, firstly you must have at least played the Queen's Chamber, then you can place the remaining objects in the King's Chamber layer up here. Another action that you can take is playing a God card. There are 28 different types of God cards in the game, and they all have divine points that could be negative or positive when playing, so keep that in mind. They have some flavour text and also a condition to be met that also has negative and positive divine points here. The conditions to be met vary with different gods, but some of them are to have a named god in that pyramid as well as this one. And when playing a god, you simply take it, tuck it underneath any object you want, face down. So you need to remember what god card that is and what condition it has to be met. Each object can hold a maximum of 2 face down god cards, And to complete your pyramid, not only do you have to have 9 objects in your pyramid, each of those objects has to have at least one god tucked underneath it. Next up, apart from gaining cards from the market area, there are other ways to gain cards. Firstly, there is the Robber's Tunnel. When played this, you actually place it in the opponent's pyramid area. So if my opponent played this card, they'll place it next to my pyramid, and it means that with any other actions, they can then place a Steal from Pyramid card into the discard pile. They roll a die, whatever number shows on the die, they can then steal that many objects from my pyramid into their hand. There's also the Search Discard pile, and what you can do here is search this discard for any card you choose, place it into your hand, and then this card also gets discarded. And the last way to gain cards is to play the Steal from Hand card, which allows you to gain random cards from the opponent player's deck. Each player also has access to 3 tokens, which are Protect, Search and Hide. To play them, you simply pick up the token and place it in front of you. The Protect has to be played onto an object pile, and it means that these objects cannot be stolen during the game. For an action, you can also shift these across to various other piles to protect those. If you place the Hide, whilst playing an object, you can actually play the Hide token as one action and place your card down face down as another action, meaning that the other player is unable to see what you've got here. Lastly, the Search, you can place that on any pile in any pyramid you choose, even your opponent's, and you can search all the cards underneath, and that includes the god cards as well. As an action, you're also able to discard a card if you don't like any cards in your hand. And the last action that you can do is probably one of the most important, is the Place Capstone card. Now, you can only play this card if your pyramid has all 3 layers open, has 9 different objects at least. Each of those objects has at least one god underneath them. You can then play your capstone on top, which closes your pyramid and ends the game immediately. If the game doesn't end then, the player will then draw up to 7 cards back to their hand, and then it's the other player's turn. If the game has ended, it enters the point scoring phase. For the point scoring phase, firstly, each player will add up the amount of points for all the objects that are in their pyramid. If there are multiple copies of the same type, you gain points for both of those objects. Once that's been done, you turn over all the god cards, and you gain positive or negative modifiers as outlined by the card. You also gain the points here if the condition is met for every single card under an object. The next thing you can do is you gain 1 point for every token that wasn't used during the game. And that is a quick rundown of how to play Pyramid of Khufu. So there you have it, Pyramid of Khufu. It's a decent little game. I was really surprised by how many different card types can be played as actions. The setup takes minutes, the gameplay takes about 20 minutes to play. I do like the aspect of placing gods face down, and you have to remember who you have. Do you just play gods when you get them, hoping you remember who else meets their conditions, or risk waiting to find those with the matching conditions for definite points at the end of the game? Now, when first setting up the game, I did think it would be tedious just sitting and waiting for that particular object or chamber card to pop up. But with the search token and the steal and search cards, this wasn't a problem. And coinciding this with the hide token, you can actually call some bluffs, causing your opponent to waste an action searching for an object that they already have. The scoring phase does appear to take a little bit longer than necessary. Now, once points are added, you then have to check the conditions of all the gods, which could be up to 18 gods per player, and that could take time. I have spoken to the designer about a few things I noted. Now, firstly, the game comes with 3 difficulty levels, where you can start the game with the Queen and the King Chamber in play. I didn't think this should be termed as a difficulty level, but instead a length of play variant. The object cards and such need to be clearly marked as such. During the first play, it can be confusing knowing what group all the cards belong to. Plus, the cards have both flavour text in one area and a condition to be met in the other with additional flavour text. I feel that these 2 sets of text do need to be separated clearly on the card. Now, other than that, I think it's a really fun, simple game. The artwork shows this traditional Egyptian hieroglyphic and just sits really well with the theme. On top of that, it's a bargain at just £10, where not only do you get a nice little game, but a 100% donation to a charity organisation doing a world of good for those suffering from such an awful disease, which on its own is a good enough reason to get a copy of this game regardless. If this game does interest you, let me know in the comments, and I'll look to add some links to the crowdfunding campaign when it does go live. So thanks for watching NinjaGeek Games and the Pyramid of Khufu. Cheers!